Ireland could see some heavy downpours with thunderstorms as we head through this evening and overnight. They'll continue to push their way north and eastwards, all quite slow moving though, so could merge to give some longer spells of rain. Across the far southeast, that's where we hold on to the dry and clearest skies, but still rather warm. Temperatures here still holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So still quite a warm, mild start to Sunday. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we have persistent rain to start the morning. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain still could be on the heavy side, and that's a similar picture across Northern Ireland with a mixture of sunny spells. Across Northern England, showers, and likewise for northern parts of Wales. Across the southeast though, should be a bright start to Sunday morning. But for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. We have a change in air mass. There's more in the way of cloud through Sunday. Scattering of showers mainly out towards the west. Longer spells of rain across Scotland and its northeastern areas of Scotland where we could see some heavy, possibly thundery showers. But like I mentioned, with that fresher air in place, temperatures closer to the average for the time of year. Across the southeast now, highs of up to 24 degrees. Through Sunday evening, we'll still see spells of rain across Scotland. A few showers in the mix elsewhere, but they'll start easing. And then as we head to start meteorological summer, while it turns downhill, low pressure moves in to bring perhaps some welcome rainfall and temperatures returning to average.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
All too often, people will be sitting at home watching a press conference live, and they'll hear loads of questions being asked, and they'll be thinking, that's not my question, that's not my concern.
We don't care whose feathers we ruffle. We ask the questions that you want answering.
You're all standing on the street protesting and want to have an open discussion.
My name is Patrick Christys. I do a show for GB News in the UK. Is it possible to talk to you quickly?
Journalism in this country has been a cosy world full of groupthink until now.
Well, this is the best view ever of Whitehall, looking out across all the tractor drivers of England who've come together to make their point.
Hello, so as you can see, I'm here in Westminster as the protest begins.
Yes, I'm very much in the thick of it.
Look, we're challenging narratives here at GB News, and that's what sets us apart.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Will Kingston, Lily Cundy, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show,
we've traded cheap foreign labour for our children's future.
Move over, Keir Starmer. Tony Blair for PM.
The plans to make your local council foot the bill for migrants.
Right-wing grifters are driving up your energy bills.
Ooh, and trust in politics is dead as a dodo.
It's all kicking off. It's 6 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5. Welcome to the Saturday 5, where you will have to excuse Lizzie Cundy, who appears to have been out in the sun far too long, given what she's just said, but we'll hear more about that argument. I have to say, you know, I was listening to his interview on a morning, nodding along like that Churchill dog. It really was. And of course, my friends, you at home, we want your views as well as Lizzie Cundy. Send your views and post your comments by visiting gbnews.com/your say. And don't forget your questions for Ask the 5. No topics are off limits, apart from tonight, well, the football. We'll crack on with tonight's first debate. My friends, I want to kick us off with this. And that is Andy Burnham's supposed plans, according to his allies, to bring in a migrant charge which would be passed along to your local councils. So right now, my friends, I'll give you the context in County Durham. We have 10,000 on a waiting list for homes in our county. There are 3,000 properties available. You can see the conundrum. The plan that Labour are reportedly passing on to local authorities up and down the country is to say that Labour's migrants, well, the asylum hotel plans will be kiboshed. But this plan doesn't stop the boats. It hands it to local councils. That would actually mean that the statistics that I've just given you, including those who will be elderly, the frail, children in care, the most vulnerable, basically, they go to the back of the queue. Not on my watch, not on our watch. Every pound, right, spent on illegals is a pound not spent on a child in care or your granny. And there's only one pot, and it's a dwindling pot. And to be blunt, this is your housing stock and your money on people who, quite frankly, shouldn't be here, while our own pensioners and children go to the back of the queue. And I know that so many of you who I speak to at home feel utterly powerless on this. You watch the boats coming in, especially in the summer. You watch the bills going up. You watch the list getting longer, and then you're told to shut up and feel the warm glow of multicultural Britain. It's an absurdity, my friends. Kai, I assume that you're champing at the bit to say, well, actually, I think that this plan proposed by allies of purportedly of Burnham is a good idea.
Well, one note of caution, right, and one thing I hope we get is I hope we get a leadership contest
in the Labour Party where we can discuss big ideas, and ideas like this, which I don't think is optimal, frankly, can be debated, because this allies of and these briefings that we see in the media, I would take them all with a pinch of salt. But Andy Burnham, you know, he's nowadays he's a beast of local politics, isn't he? He's as Mayor of Greater Manchester, he knows the pressures you're talking about, Darren, doesn't he? I don't think he'd be suggesting this without good reason.
Well, the difference is, though, Will, that actually I don't think they care about the people being put at the back of the queue if you're British citizens.
No, of course they don't, and there's now 2 years of evidence to suggest that. Kai, for you to suggest that moving people from one form of publicly funded accommodation to another form of publicly funded accommodation is somehow a big idea really talks about the dearth of ideas in the Labor Party today. People don't care that illegal migrants are getting chockies on their pillows, or they can get those little shampoos or the slippers. It's not the concept of the hotel that is the problem. It is that we are paying for their accommodation and then they can roam the community. If they are being taken from a hotel and put into, for example, you know, publicly funded IMOs, for example, that's the same concept. It's just a different way of housing.
But how much cheaper is it? How much cheaper is it,
yeah,
Will?
so it's cheaper. So
no, but how much cheaper is it, Darren? Do you know?
Do you know, I actually think, would you speak to residents who are single mothers on their own, who get 5 men move in next door in a HMO that Will mentioned, you say, oh, it's all right, love, it's cheaper to put them there?
No, I don't think... Look, I don't like the idea of dispersal accommodation very much, but the fact of the matter is hotels have become a symbol of everything that's wrong with the asylum system in this country. They're reducing them very quickly because the figures speak for themselves. £145 each per day is what it costs to house people in hotels. That's compared to an average in dispersal accommodation of £23. Now, it doesn't always need to be the scare story that you're talking about, Darren. If it's done in collaboration with local authorities, which I gather is the idea behind this.
It's not a scare story. It's genuinely happening up and down the country. And Lizzie, you know, on GBNews.com, there was right now, that's one of the latest top news stories, a bisexual Iraqi asylum seeker who went on to rape a woman. I go through this list and there are several examples just like that.
Well,
the answer is they shouldn't be here full stop.
Well, they shouldn't be here full stop, and the fact is this government said they were going to smash the gangs and do something about this. They've done absolutely nothing. In fact, the whole situation has got worse than ever. Since Labour have got into power, over 73,000 have come over illegals on small boats. It's not good enough. We are scared in our communities. The first order of any government is to look after its own people. They are not doing that. And I am sick to death of these incidents and attacks that are going on in our communities. And it's like, you know, we're not shocked anymore because they're happening so often, and it is a disgrace.
And Lizzie, can I add to that? You've got good reason to be more scared under this proposal than the status quo. At least in hotels, people can know where all of the illegal migrants are and they can make accommodations for that. When they're in HMOs and more dispersed in the community, that is a far bigger risk to people, particularly to women and girls, than if you have them in one central location like a hotel. I can totally see how this would potentially lead to even more tragic violence occurring.
Yeah, well, I mean, Trey, this proposition, what do you do with them ultimately in your ideal world?
I mean, that's the problem, right? Because what would you guys really propose? You're not going to be blowing them out of the water, are you? At the end of the day, they are coming here. They should be treated. Yeah, but that's not going to happen just overnight like that, right? So you're going to have to house them somewhere. I think Kai's right to a certain extent. You've got to have reasonable suggestions about what to do with it. Cost should be an issue. I think you've got... I definitely agree with the fact that people are born here, people are British, should always take precedent. But you're going to have to spend something on the issue. You can't just leave them alone. You can't leave them to wander the street. You can't leave them homeless on the street.
But sadly, we're
You've got to
feeling
do
like second-class citizens. People are being put at the back of the queue.
No, but I think some of that is emotive and overblown. I get the emotional stuff, but some of it is a little bit overblown. Like there's hordes of, as they call them, fighting age men. All of that stuff is just done deliberately. You could call them fighting age men. I would call them working age men. Once after them get the indefinite leave to remain.
Can I just say,
I think there's a lot of emotion around it.
87.3% are males.
And that's exactly what Will's going to be talking about later on, that this notion that actually bringing in a load of foreign workers whilst there are 1 million young people not in education or training or work or employment. So the whole thing is an utter absurdity.
I think they're clearly different issues. I mean, I hear people going on about, still talking about people taking their jobs, but they're doing a lot of jobs that a lot of young people don't necessarily want to do. Now, I know there's a lot of nuance around those
Well, we'll
needs.
get on to that. Don't get into that right now. But I think ultimately, though, saying that the public basically ought to put up and shut up is what they're being asked to do.
No, that is wrong, and I don't think the public are being told to put up and shut up. I think they're grappling with a real issue.
Can I add another lens on this, which is basically what future potential leadership candidates are saying, is that we're going to take the responsibility from a lefty woke government and we're going to put it in the hands of lefty woke councils, many of whom are further left than this government, who will probably make more accommodations for illegal migrants than what this government has done. I think that's a far more dangerous situation to devolve responsibility for this.
And Kai, in your day-to-day work, you'll know how totally skint local authorities up and down the country are because of pressures around looked after children and adult social care. They can't possibly be expected to take on the burden of the migrant crisis as well.
No, they would have to get some additional block grant from the government, wouldn't they? But also, can I just propose another villain in this big story? And the reason why people are in hotels in the first place is because apparently of some flawed contract work by the Home Office to, yes, you guessed it, outsourcing companies, the likes of Serco and so on, who basically run so much of our public services. And they, instead of putting people in dispersal accommodation in a way that might have been not the sort of scare story that we talk about, but in a way that was measured, sensible, integrated, instead of doing that, they just thought, all right, we'll bung them in hotels, and look where we are today. We're at its peak, in 2023, at the peak of the protests as well, 56,000 migrants in hotels. That's down, that's half now, so there's progress, but there's always something else going on behind the scenes.
It will not be progress until they're gone. It will not be progress until they're not in the country anymore.
We need to deport them. We don't know. They throw away their passports. We see their documentation when they arrive. It's frightening. And as a woman in my own village, we are frightened. And I'm in a rural village, and I can't stress enough how this country's been.
Do you have migrants near you in your rural village?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Housed?
We've got a school up in Elms because they're filming outside the school, and nothing is being done.
That's what you don't understand, because with the greatest possible respect, right, you're in a London enclave. They don't put them in London because London property's too expensive. So it is rural parts of the country, or it is more deprived areas such as Durham that get the brunt and bear the burden.
But listen, I definitely have sympathy with it. I mean, I read the article from the Daily Telegraph, which is looking at the whole process from when, I mean, it's a criminal enterprise. I get it, some of it is. So I completely understand.
By definition.
Not all of it, no. There are some people genuinely who are desperate to come on, but I think even I can concede there's a certain amount of them who are economic migrants, fair play to them, but we shouldn't necessarily be housing them because it's not necessarily our duty to do that. I do get it. But I think some of the hysteria is being whipped up, which is why some people are afraid.
Well, no, because people are being treated like second-class citizens. We're not a charity, and we're bursting an island at the seams.
True, and I think that's the problem that a lot of governments have done. They've ignored people. I think especially when white working-class people say they accuse them of racism, and I don't think most people are racist. I think people are genuinely concerned and don't want people coming over their shoulder. I get it. But the way you deal with them must be done in a humanitarian, careful way full of care. That's why I see it. And they shouldn't just be demonised. Most of them just want to come over here and work and contribute.
Right. No, that's just not true. That's just
you think all of them are coming over here to attack
that's
people?
Your lefty liberal.
They're getting on boats, paying all that money. I just want to attack people.
Can you not interrupt me, please?
Go for it.
That is your lefty liberal view of the world. The issue is that if you do not detain these people, they are at greater risk of walking the communities and committing violent acts. It is not because of right-wing commentators like me on television that there is fear in the community. It's because every single day there is a different story that emerges of someone from Somalia or Eritrea or Afghanistan.
All violent criminals.
No, that's not what I said, and you're misportraying what I said.
Kind of is.
It is because every day there is another story like that. That is what people are afraid of. At the very least, any sensible detention policy should be you detain them, ideally in an army barracks where they cannot roam the community.
But people didn't even like that idea. It's almost like no idea is like.
Because they're able to roam the villages and, places they're at.
John, who's a GBNews member, has written in, and John says, my son was 53 in the council housing list, and then illegals were moved in to areas like Glasgow, and and it talking about Glasgow as a city of sanctuary, which it is, which means, you know, a free-for-all. And then he and his pregnant wife, nearly due, went to 113th on the housing list. I personally think this is absolutely scandalous and ought to be stopped.
And I agree. If that is true, absolutely that's wrong. That's the bit I don't get if that's true. I think if people have come that far, they're not going to be expecting 5-star stream. I think people are born here should always take precedent.
Coming here?
Always. I generally think a lot of them are genuine asylum seekers, and a lot of them are probably economic migrants coming in for a better life.
Why do they
genuinely?
Why do they then not stop at the several safe countries they go through?
There are so many reasons. We all know there are lots of reasons why people come to the UK. Maybe they've got family here. Most people speak English. They don't speak French or German or Swedish or anything else. There are lots of reasons why they'd want to come here.
OK, Kai, Andrew is a member as well, and he's written in, he says, when the public said close the illegal criminal migrant hotels, the public did not mean put those people everywhere. They meant those people must be deported. But Labour can say, very narrow political-minded, that they are closing hotels just to try and get votes and then pretend they've done what the public wanted.
Yeah.
It is a deception, says Andrew.
Well, that's not true. And this is, by the way, what really exposes the hypocrisy and the unpreparedness of people like Kebby Badenoch, like many of the Tories, and like many of your own party, Darren, who said, oh, no, we should encourage legal threats to these hotels to make sure they all get shut down as quickly as possible. In a rushed way, this doesn't work. Right? I know they need to go somewhere. The army barracks and things like that, I mean, yes, by the way, ideally, the people who shouldn't be here should be deported, but some of them will be here, and processing times for asylum are taking ages, so they are here, whether we like it or not. Army barracks can't just be popped up immediately, and so, yes, closing down hotels now was necessary, politically necessary. Maybe it wasn't necessary to do as quickly as many people called for, which is why we're in this situation where the next best option is HMOs. Well, and many of you were saying that we should close down the hotels no matter what.
Hang on,
even when I gave you this option. We talked about this.
On that point, Lizzie, I believe, right, that HMOs are too good. And I say that with all sincerity because I think they ought to get the bare basic, right? As long as they've got a bed, right, and somewhere to wash themselves. It could be like a sort of holiday camp from the 1940s or whatever, 60s.
I think a yoga mat.
Starting to sound like a concentration camp.
Barbara Windsor sort of.
I think a yoga mat would be perfectly fine.
We are giving. Look, why aren't they staying in France?
Why do they need to go in HMO?
Why do they have to? And why are people that are from this country not able even to get? My friend's been waiting on the housing list for years, not being able to get a house to see what's going on. You know, it's not fair. You have to admit it's not right. Look, and the first order, as I said, of any government is to look after its own people first. And this government is not doing it.
No, true. I can't argue with that.
Right, we'll leave that one there. There'll be more to come when Will gets on his topic. Now, my friends, the Makerfield by-election will take place on the 18th of June following the resignation of the Labour MP Josh Simmons. The candidates announced so far are Andy Burnham, the Labour Party, Alan Howland, Lord Hope, the official Monster Raven Looney Party, Robert Kenyon, Reform UK, Rebecca Shepherd, Restore Britain, Michael Winstanley, the Conservative Party, and Jake Austin, the Liberal Democrats. Dan Clark, the Libertarian Party, Peter Mark Ward, the Rejoin EU Party, Sarah Wakefield, the Green Party, Ed Gemmell, Climate Party, Robert Pownall, Independent, Protect the Wild, John Alfred Dyer, Independent, Paul Richard Gould, Independent, and Count Binface, the Count Binface Party. Right, it's time now, my friends, for the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to get a ton of tax-free cash in time for summer. That's an incredible 76,000. I always mess this up. 76,543 and 21 pence. And that could all be yours. Here's the details that you need to make it.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543 and 21 pence in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. Just make sure you don't miss your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence for a chance to win £76,543 £46,543.21 in tax-free cash. Text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Now, I've already teased what Will's got coming up, but Will, what have you got coming up?
Well, in addition to what you said, Darren, Lizzie Cundy was dead right. A government needs to put its own people first, and increasingly that is not the case with the young people who are out of work in this country. They're being overlooked in favour of cheap foreign labour. I'm going to tell you why that is a catastrophe after the break.
Brilliant.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point.
Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Someone has just been asking if I'm colouring my hair.
Oh!
I'm not. I am not. I'm not.
It's a nice compliment. It looks nice.
It's just not a grey on my head.
Yeah. You're colouring your face, but not
there's also not enough hair on my head. Right, and other guests, members of the GB News audience who are watching us tonight, getting involved in your say, they've been saying that actually Ben says, who is a member, Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben.
Can I ask the panel, do you not believe that if we can build hospitals in a matter of weeks during COVID, that we could easily build detention facilities within the same time frames? Why move them into HMOs when they can disappear from them? Instead, keep them detained exactly where they are right now until a space is available in a detention facility.
Exactly. I have been saying this for years.
Well.
We built the Nightingale hospitals like that. So why can't we do it?
If there's the will.
If there's the will. We haven't got the political will. There's the will. We need the political will.
Give me a few tent poles and some canvas and I'll set it up for you this afternoon.
There we are. Right, you can get in touch, my friends, at gbnews.com/your say. Get your questions in as well for Ask the Five. Thank you so much for doing so. Now, though, it's time for our next debate. All right.
Yeah, I'll take it away, Darren. We need to inject some sanity into this conversation after the injections from Trey and Kai in the first 20 minutes. Well, the party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears, ladies and gentlemen. It was their final, most essential command. The words of Orwell were on my mind this week as I was reading the review into youth unemployment by Alan Milburn, when, in fact, it is perhaps one of the most shocking things that I've read in some time. The number of young people under the age of 25 not in employment, education or training is set to rise up to 1.25 million people in the next 5 years. It is currently already teetering just above 1 million by some reports. This is a tragedy. This is a tragedy for the future of the country. And I know what you're all thinking at home because you have common sense. It probably wasn't the best idea to flood the country with cheap foreign labour, making it infinitely more difficult for young people to get a job and maintain a job. That's supply and demand. That's common sense. It is inarguable. Well, it's inarguable unless you're the person who wrote this report, Mr. Milburn, who, when asked whether or not immigration played a role in these numbers, not the role, but a role, he said, there's no evidence. It's a blame game issue. We just sort of blame immigration as the problem. It's really not. Well, at worst, he is flat out lying. At best, he is blinded by the ideology that has captured the establishment for the last 20 years, the ideology of mass migration. And luckily, the Centre for Social Justice actually came out with a report contemporaneously to disprove what he has said, where they basically found that for every young white English person, 27 non-EU workers have been put on UK payrolls since 2020. So to break that down, there has been 290,000 non-EU workers who have been put on UK payrolls. There's just been 11,000 UK citizens put on UK payrolls, whilst the number of young British people who are now not in employment, training or education has gone up by 200,000. Don't those numbers correlate very neatly, Mr. Milburn? What a coincidence! But no, it can't be immigration. At least some of the more honest people will say, well, yes, it may be immigration, but as Trey said, they're just taking the jobs that young English men and women don't want to do. Well, I'll tell you what, if you give the option of either you take that job or alternatively you go hungry, let's see how many of them choose to actually go to work as opposed to taking welfare in a broken welfare system. That's the reality, ladies and gentlemen. Until we sort the twin evils of mass migration and socialism, more and more young people will stay unemployed, more and more young people will lack purpose, and this country will continue to abrogate its responsibility to the future men and women that will make this country great, hopefully, once again.
Very well said, Will. No, I did a Saturday job. I did a Saturday job as a 15-year-old. I had a Saturday job.
Yeah.
And apparently there's the total death of the Saturday job.
Exactly.
The kids aren't doing them anymore.
Well, in addition to that, and I was listening to Jacob Rees-Mogg, who was talking about how EU regulations initially have made it so much harder to employ young people in those positions. Apparently it's a lot harder for kids to do the paper route, for example. So this isn't just, I think, a lack of motivation. We are now strangling businesses from taking those kids on for those types of roles.
But, I mean, sadly, small businesses are just folding and going. You know, how many pubs are closing? 2 a day. It's 333 last year closed. You know, they no longer can afford the staff. They can't afford the energy bills. I mean, my boys used to have, like, that Saturday job or collecting glasses in the pub. Can't do that anymore. You know, it's really unfair what's happening with the youth of today. To have, a million out of work that could work, it's a travesty.
I just want to push back a little bit, right? Because it's almost like things are not working out. blame migrants. Things are not going your way, blame migrants. Let me give you an example, right? Of all of the most developed nations in the world, guess who's one of the highest? South Korea. Not many migrants there, have they? They've got more NEETs than us. I believe it's 20% of their young people versus us, 12 to 15%. It's very easy to just blame migrants for everything, but how would you account for that?
I don't know.
How would you account for that?
I'm not an expert on South Korea.
No, but think about it, right?
I'm not an expert. Again, it is, as I said, it is not the factor, it is a factor. But how do you...
Yeah, but you make it sound like it's the deciding factor, and it isn't. There are lots of different reasons for this.
Stop. I literally said, not a factor, not the factor, a factor. You can go back and watch. But just engage with the data. How do you find that if you have 27 non-EU workers coming in and getting jobs on UK payroll for every one British citizen, how can you say that that is not a decisive factor?
Yeah.
It's not. It's common sense.
I think Kai will go deeper into that, but there'll be a myriad of reasons. But we also see that one of the reasons as well were things around mental health. That's one thing that was spoken about of young people. That's not taken too seriously. And there is an element not seriously in terms of explaining it. The fact that there are more men who are NEETs than there are women is another factor. You know, men generally are falling behind in lots of different areas.
There's also another factor with the pandemic where people got used to staying at home and not doing anything. And sadly, I'm afraid this country is breeding a nation of hermits.
Exactly. We've got to agree something. Like, I think I got into my Uber. I don't know how many times I've got into an Uber and it's just been an English driver. I don't know how many times I've had a delivery from Deliveroo or something. It's been someone normal. These are self-employed type jobs that anyone conceivably can do. Yeah. There are no barriers to entry. There's no, I'm going to take you over that one because you're British and I don't want you, let me take the foreign guy. Come on, guys. There are a myriad of reasons, but this whole kind of skewing towards blaming the migrants and it's because of all of the... Come on.
Yeah. Look, Milburn's report is undoubtedly sort of extraordinary in what it sets out. Right? Some of the stats are... No, it's not, Darren. It's a comprehensive piece of work.
Doesn't mention migration once.
You know what,
Darren? It's not that important.
You know what, Darren? What I was about to say is Will is completely right, that it is sort of... does it a complete disservice that it doesn't mention migration. But what I agree with Trey about, you know, what the report sets out and what we should avoid is trying to fall into a blame game, because Will says, you know, it's not just migration, but surely migration has to be a part of it, and I agree. So why has Milburn not considered that as part of it? But then he's excoriating on so many other factors within the system that mean that kids... I mean, 45% of today's 24-year-old NEETs have never had a job, and so many of these kids, the point the report makes is it's not a temporary out-of-work situation, it's a complete detachment. Once they start out of work, they will continue to be out of work. This is the big moral emergency of our time. So actually, I totally agree with Will, it takes the sting out of the tail a bit to say, oh, well, it's nothing to do with migration, and to ignore it completely in the report.
Will, do you think we've taken the mental health argument too far? As in, yes, it's important, but actually we've given it as a major get-out-of-work-free card.
Yeah, it has. Well, I would add on this, by the way, that mental health obviously impacts people born outside of the United Kingdom as much as people born inside the United Kingdom, and they're getting jobs. So I would question again whether or not this is... I would question whether or not that this is a native phenomena. I don't think it is. But you are right that this is something where now society has become so medicalised that we've equated having a bad day or having a rough few weeks with anxiety or depression, and now, particularly post-COVID, you don't have to go in and see a psychologist or even a doctor to be able to be ticked off and say, right, I need to go on benefits. You can just do it all over the phone.
Yeah.
So this is the problem I think we need to address fundamentally, is getting the motivation in to go back to work, and that starts with taking away the carrot of welfare.
And can I just quickly say, what helps mental health is going to work. It gives you a focus,
absolutely,
gives you confidence, and helps you to socialise. It's the best thing for mental health.
Before I did my Saturday job, I was a nervous wreck, right, totally lacking in confidence, and it gave me absolutely oodles of the stuff, despite the fact I was getting what I think it was like £2.50 an hour or something like that. You know, but it did massive good, and that's the problem. We don't have that societal good anymore.
I think so. I think, like what Will said, I'd want to sort of go back to that. My parents, for instance, from Nigeria, have no idea about mental health. I don't think it affects certain migrants the same way. They don't indulge in it as much. They are way more hard-working than I am, I would say. It's just different culturally, completely different.
Okie dokie, well, more of that to come, my friends. But still to come on the show, we'll be bringing you our latest triggered tantrums.
The right hand, I saw you manipulate.
So you didn't?
With the right hand, perhaps not, right? But I saw you
didn't see me with my right hand.
So are you saying
that...
Oh dear, it's all kicking off on this show, my friends. See you after this.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading away this weekend, there will be some showers here and there across eastern areas of Europe, but mostly plenty of sunny and dry weather. You can see a few showers dotted around Greece and Turkey. Italy seeing the odd shower as well, but mostly it's going to be a predominantly dry and sunny picture if you're heading to parts of Europe. Across Madeira and to the Canary Islands as well, there'll be plenty of warm sunshine, temperatures generally in the high 20s, if not low 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. It's the last of the hot spell today, especially in the southeast, with cloud and outbreaks of rain in the northwest before turning fresher with sunshine and showers through Sunday. So high pressure still situated across much of England and Wales. Northwestern areas, that's where we have the influence of low pressure. So a wet end to the day across Scotland. Northern Ireland could see some heavy downpours with thunderstorms as we head through this evening and overnight. They'll continue to push their way north and eastwards, all quite slow moving though, so could merge to give some longer spells of rain. Across the far southeast, that's where we hold on to the dry and clearest skies, but still rather warm. Temperatures here still holding up around 15 or 16 degrees. So still quite a warm, mild start to Sunday. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we have persistent rain to start the morning. Elsewhere, showery outbreaks of rain still could be on the heavy side, and that's a similar picture across Northern Ireland with a mixture of sunny spells. Across Northern England, showers, and likewise for northern parts of Wales. Across the southeast, though, should be a bright start to Sunday morning. But for all of us, it is going to be feeling fresher out there. We have a change in air mass. There's more in the way of cloud through Sunday. Scattering of showers, mainly out towards the west. Longer spells of rain across Scotland and its northeastern areas of Scotland, where we could see some heavy, possibly thundery showers. But like I mentioned, with that fresher air in place, temperatures closer to the average for the time of year. Across the southeast now, highs of up to 24 degrees. Through Sunday evening, we'll still see spells of rain across Scotland. A few showers in the mix elsewhere, but they'll start easing. And then as we head to start meteorological summer, well, it turns downhill. Low pressure moves in to bring perhaps some welcome rainfall and temperatures returning to average.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB loyalty points are here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on your say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB loyalty points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Surprise! Did you miss me? No, I'm sure you didn't. Look, Look, I'm not a known football fan, but I thought the football had been over already. But it turns out there's even more going on. Are you a gooner? I'm not a gooner, but maybe I will be. Maybe I will be after this. I've got very exciting news for you. Live in the Emirates Stadium, we have our very own Sam Francis. Sam, are you with us? How are things over there? Give us a sense of the atmosphere.
We are live outside the Emirates Stadium for this, what could be historic night, the first time in 140 years of the Gunners' history that they may well be crowned the Champions League winners. The players are in Budapest tonight, but the real emotion, the raw emotion, is here outside the Emirates Stadium. Just take a look behind me at the scenes of hundreds of people crowding the streets as this match is now underway. Thousands of fans also, too, gathered inside the stadium. Some 60,000 people inside this stadium, almost serving as a waiting room, really, to see if this elusive trophy can finally be claimed. Earlier in the match, just minutes into the game, a storming start for Arsenal. Kai Havertz taking the Gunners 1-up. The crowd here, along with the rest of the country, went wild. I think we can just show you a few clips of the moment that goal was scored. Well, it comes just weeks after Arsenal ended their 22-year wait for the Premier League title. But the big question of the night tonight, are Arsenal better at defending than PSG will be at attacking? Arsenal so far have been superb defensively. They've had control, they've mastered the tempo of the game. But can they maintain it for the rest of the action? Well, as the minutes are counting down, there could be trouble. In the last few minutes, a clinical and decisive penalty has taken PSG 1-all. We're waiting to see if they will continue in that train or whether Arsenal can pull it back. But earlier today, Mikel Arteta says that his side have the chance to write a new chapter in Arsenal's history.
It will be something new for all of us, and we know how tough it is in a club like Arsenal to write a new history. But that's the aim, and that's why we are all so excited and we have such a desire to make it happen. It's the opportunity to own the moment because, as you said, it's the second time in our history that we are here and we have the opportunity to write a new chapter in the history of this football club. And in order to do that, we have to play with such a clarity, a lot of courage and a relentless desire to win. If we have those three aspects, I'm sure that we're going to be close to win. They are defending the trophy, so they were the last ones that earned the right to leave that trophy, and they are actually the champions, and we are here to take that away from them.
Well, the Premier League title answered one question. Tonight's Champions League final could well answer another one. Their win just a few weeks ago here was historic. Tonight will decide whether Arsenal can indeed be immortal. We'll be here throughout this evening tonight, depending on which way this game goes, and we'll get the reaction from fans outside the stadium.
Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you so much for that. Do we have time for questions? You're a big footballer.
I'm a huge, obviously, Arsenal fan since young. I actually want to know this. What's your sense of the fans? Like, if, God forbid, we were to lose it, do you think that would sort of dampen the celebrations for tomorrow?
I can't quite hear you, Kai, but I think you're asking about what we're expecting here tonight as the celebrations may well spread onto the streets. It could go one of two ways, as Get Football always can. They will either win or they will either lose. I would imagine if it doesn't go Arsenal's way, fans will be pretty quick to head home and hang their heads in shame. But all hopes are still here. Fans tonight waiting to see whether they can win. And if they do, I don't think it will just be a few hours of celebration. It will be weeks-long celebrations, and certainly into the early hours of this morning.
Amazing. Well, Sam, thank you very much. Enjoy on our behalf, and we'll be with you again shortly, I'm sure. Well,
up the PSG, come on!
What an atmosphere!
Listen,
that was incredible.
Time. There could be penalties. Let me tell you, the game's
We're going to win.
over.
Don't worry, we're going to win. It's all good.
Do you think that's what's going to happen?
I have faith. And like I said, I think even if we don't, I'm going to be turning up tomorrow regardless. And I'm going to celebrate the fact that it took 22 years for us to top the table. That's good enough.
Trey, staying with you, what are you doing after the break?
After the break, I'm going to be speaking about this disastrous war in Iran, of course. That's what I'm going to be talking about. Stay tuned for that.
want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power, Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
I've got a world exclusive for you. There's a very exciting new talent on the London stage. We've got a little exclusive clip for you here.
Baby sham. Okay, so we saw a scene in a bar with not much dialogue. What was that then?
That was me.
What?
That was me, Michael.
What was
that was
from
me
then?
strolling onto stage. I think they've got some pictures of me in costume and everything. There you go.
Oh, now we have a picture.
Yeah,
of you,
so this
recognisably.
That was me. Very exciting new talent. So this is the Park Theatre up in North London, and again, this is more of my love of local theatres,
Yes.
regional theatres, community theatres.
Yes.
I'd had a lovely chat with Jez Bond, who is the founder, director and writer of this show. They need $600,000 a year on top of box office takings just to break even. So every year they do this whodunit. And the idea is, apart from me, they have Ian McKellen doing the voiceover, they have Emma Thompson, Gillian Anderson, Julian Clary, Hugh Bonneville, Benedict Cumberbatch. All these people come in for one night, they turn up, they're literally put into they play the sheriff in this mad spoof whodunit. They get an earpiece, and then literally, so that's it, they open the fake saloon doors, come on stage, I walked to the bar and ordered a baby sham with my amazing Westerns accent. And then the rest of the play, you have the earpiece in. So I went and did about an hour, and I was the first person they had on the stage to see how it all works. And it was fascinating.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays, I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Saturday Fight. Thank you so much for getting in touch via gbnews.com/your say. My good friend Grumpy Grandad has gotten in touch and he says, I hope Arsenal get hammered.
Oh, God.
Only because Keir Starmer supports them.
Fair enough. I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of that. I mean, what can you do?
Oh, Trey,
fair
listen,
enough.
I saw you were proud as punch when Keir Starmer stood up at the dispatch box and announced to the nation that he was a gooner.
I was not. I was proud as a punch when he said he wasn't going to support this war blindly. I like that bit. But, but to be honest,
proud when he got those freebie tickets.
do you know
for
what?
Arsenal.
The more, the merrier. The more gooners out there, the better.
All right, OK. And Kai's been sending me all of your comments. Thank you so much, Kai. I'm busy, you see. He's free. He's got the time.
Yeah, there's nothing else to do.
Trey or Kai, if they were given a box of 100 chocolates and told 2 were poisonous, would they still select a chocolate?
I'm very adventurous. I would. Seriously, happily I would.
Sorry.
Trisha's question is,
very adventurous.
all migrants are bad, but why would you take the chance?
98% chance of success. I think most of us would take those odds if we had to. Look, listen, what's interesting about that is my wife was a migrant, you know, she claimed asylum, and she's actually way more hardcore than me, more hardcore than Lizzie. What? She happily would put them all in a camp somewhere, especially the young men. She would do that in a heartbeat. So I do get that. I understand that sentiment.
Well, speaking of, Big Steve said if I was a migrant, I'd be more scared of Lizzie Cundy.
Yeah.
Lizzie Cundy, border force, here we come.
Very good, very
Get
good.
me in power.
Oh, I really like that comment from Andrew, saying, I really do enjoy Kai. The out of touch with reality claptrap he spouts really does perk my Saturday and give me a laugh. Keep it up, Kai.
Thank you. My heart goes out to you.
All right, now it's time for our next debate. Who's up next?
Yep, and that is me, and sticking on the same subject about Keir Starmer and his stance on the Iran war. Can you believe that our bills are rising again? How much, you might ask? They're going to be rising by an average of £221 per household. People are already struggling. We can barely afford the basics. And you know what's really, really scary? It could get much, much worse. Yet many of those same voices, these right-wing grifters, as I call them, telling you that they're champions of ordinary working people, that they want lower bills, cheaper living, they all backed Donald Trump and this disastrous war with Iran. And you know what? Many continue to back it. Well, actions, they have consequences. Conflict in a major energy region pushes up energy prices for all of us. Not only energy, but also food prices. And guess who pays for that? Not the politicians, not the pundits, not those grifters, you. You and me, we pay for it. Because it's easy to sound tough and hawkish when you're not the one choosing between heating your home and feeding your family. You can't claim to stand for ordinary working people and support disastrous policies that make ordinary working people poorer.
Yeah.
Well, I don't support the war in Iran, but I did support the fact that we would allow the American operation to take place at the very start of the war, and I do think it was right to give support to allies in the region too. Whereas I think if you had your way, Trey, we would have put our fingers in our ears and just accepted that everything was going on around us and to us, and not get involved in any way, shape or form.
Look, listen, even Tony Blair, and I can't stand what he did, at least he built and helped build a coalition of the willing. At least that's what I would have done. Clearly, as they're a threat from Iran, and we don't want them to have nuclear weapons, why don't we actually get a coalition together and work together, rather than this surprise war that surprised us all? Come on.
You like President Obama, right?
He was okay. I cannot tell you I like Obama. He went into Libya and blew that to pieces. No, I don't necessarily. But at least he would act with a lot more consensus with other world leaders and deal with the problem.
That consensus gave billions of pounds over to Iran to stop a nuclear programme, which, by the way, it didn't.
Again, I'm not a fanboy necessarily of Obama, and that was their own money that they released. They released their own money. It's not like they went into their own treasury and just gave it to them.
The stuttering Starmer who sits on the fence, you know, can we use the base? It was just awful, and then in the end he did let the Americans.
So you guys are okay.
Let me finish. This man is no leader, and he sat on the fence so much he makes us look globally weak and pathetic. And we've not, he not only upset Donald Trump, but then he ended up upsetting Iran as well, because he did in the end have to do that. So he just can't make his mind up.
Yeah, but
he's
I'm not talking about
he's pathetic.
If he left tomorrow, I'd be happy as well.
The fact is, this government could do a lot more to help, couldn't they?
So
they could cut fuel duty, they could stop this net zero absolute craziness.
So you support this war?
There are
in the way it's been conducted?
I didn't say that. Don't put words in my mouth.
No, but I'm just saying.
Not a ventriloquist.
That's the premise of what I'm saying.
There are two separate but related things going on here. One is, was it right for the US to intervene in Iran? And the second is UK energy prices. On the first, I still support US intervention in Iran because it has set a very clear precedent now that they cannot pursue a nuclear weapon without consequences, without bombs falling on Tehran if you continue to pursue nuclear weapons, which everyone agrees is intolerable.
But it hasn't worked.
Trey, what you've basically said is the consensus agreement for the last 50-odd years, which hasn't worked. You're right.
It's worked.
That has not worked at all, which is why they are still pursuing nuclear weapons. It hasn't changed anything. If your kumbaya, let's everyone hold hands and come to an agreement model worked, I absolutely would have endorsed it, but it hasn't. Now, on energy prices, Donald Trump isn't responsible for UK energy. UK governments, successive UK governments are. And as UK governments that have not
you understand energy prices are set prices set by the market.
Can you stop interrupting me? It is UK governments who have not invested in their own local energy resources. It is UK governments that tax electricity higher than anyone else in Europe. It is UK governments that have not done the necessary things to actually protect inject their own energy resources in here, instead going for some ridiculous net zero ideology, they are the ones to blame. That is the ones you need to hold accountable.
Are you generally saying, hand on heart, that this war hasn't had any impact on our bills?
No, you're not listening to me. I'm saying that there are global shocks, macroeconomic shocks that happen all the time. There are wars, there are pandemics, there are all sorts of things that happen. It is the responsibility of a government to recognise that stuff will happen and make accommodations for them.
It's not a pandemic, it's a war of choice.
Well, Kai, the fact of the matter is, though, isn't it, that this war hasn't impacted our energy prices because we've gone for net zero, and Ed Miliband says that £300 was coming off our bills. So we're living in the land of milk and honey in Britain, aren't we?
Well, it's better than it would have been. Yes, that's right.
Please.
But look, I mean...
Hey. I've heard it all now. Listen, I'm going to buy you a sat-nav. You've lost your way. Seriously.
There's a lot to unpack. We don't have much time, you know, but one thing that I totally agree with Train, and I agree with Will on some things as well, but it's totally clear to me that all those cheerleaders for Trump's actions in Iran and before that in Venezuela were geeing him up to go to war, totally oblivious of the consequences. These are the consequences. You don't want to deal with it. I'm sorry, but you all were the same people who wanted, carte blanche, let him go ahead. Didn't even know what the operation looked like, didn't even know what the objectives were, because those changed every day. But yeah, go ahead. Donald Trump, we need to support the US. And that position has been shown to be a total nonsense.
I said indecisiveness of Keir Starmer. That showed weakness and ended up upsetting the special relationship. I'm not saying I agreed with that war, so don't put words in my mouth, because I didn't. But I do disagree with the way Keir Starmer handled it.
OK, we've got loads more coming up tonight on the show, including this. I don't know what that is after this break, my friends. I'm keeping you all in suspense.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. The hot spell has finished. We've got rain in the northwest, and then it's feeling fresher for all of us as we go through tomorrow with sunshine and showers. Low pressure in charge across the northwest. This cold front will drive outbreaks of rain and fresher air behind it. High pressure holding on in the east. So cloudy as we go through the evening across eastern areas, but to the north and west, that's where we could see some thunderstorms initially across Northern Ireland, pushing their way north and eastward. So a damp picture as we go overnight across Scotland and northern England. But for many, temperatures still holding up around 12 to 14 degrees. Through Sunday morning then, it's a damp picture across much of Scotland. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we see persistent rain. Some heavier bursts coming in to central parts of Scotland. Across Northern Ireland though, hopefully a little bit better. We should see some sunshine instead of the rain and a mixture of some showers. Elsewhere across England and Wales, largely cloudy. Best of the sunshine and dry weather is going to be across eastern parts to start Sunday morning. For most of us though, that cloud will start bubbling up and thickening. We could see a few showers around. Most places largely actually dry. Most focus for some showers is going to be across Scotland, particularly across the northeast of Scotland where they could turn thundery. But for all of us, it's feeling fresher out there. Temperatures now returning closer to average. Still warm in the sunshine though, 24, 25 degrees, and hopefully feeling more pleasant where you catch the sunshine across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Now as we start meteorological summer on Monday, it's a bright start across the east, but it won't last long. We'll see cloud and outbreaks of rain arriving from the west. Some of that could be heavy at times. And then as we go into Tuesday, it's a showery theme again, but temperatures generally around average for this time of the year. Bye-bye.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're counting down to a spectacular summer. It's your chance to win £76,543 and 21 pence in totally tax-free cash. A lump sum that you could have in time to splash out with this summer. And because it's tax-free, you get to keep every single penny. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pooled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, this Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. Move over Ant and Dec. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Will Kingston, Lizzie Cundy, Trey Lowe and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show...
Lord Heseltine thinks that Thatcher would have hated Farage. We'll ask him why.
Move over, Keir. It's time to bring back Tony Blair.
Our Saturday scrap. Make sure to vote on the topic at gbnews.com.
And keep getting your questions in for Ask the Five.
And trust and transparency in politics are dead as a dodo.
Ooh, it's 7 p.m. and this is the Saturday 5.
Well, welcome back. You are still watching the Saturday 5, don't you worry. Michelle Connolly said, Kai, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. And in that spirit, it's me, yes. Now, in that spirit, we're going to cut straight to the wonderful Sam Francis, who is still at Emirates Stadium for an update.
Evening, Kai. Yeah, good evening to you. We're live outside the Emirates Stadium where the atmosphere is, well, certainly tense, and the game is well and truly still on. We're into extra time at the minute, waiting to see whether Arsenal can clinch this victory, Champions League title, the first time it would be in their 140-year history. Just take a look at the scenes behind me on the streets outside the Emirates Stadium where fans have gathered in their hundreds, if not thousands, alongside another 60 or so thousand inside the stadium where they are waiting and watching eagerly to see whether they can be crowned not just Premier League champions now, but champions of Europe too, clinching this Champions League title. The atmosphere certainly tense, and let me warn you, if you are an Arsenal supporter tonight, PSG are certainly now coming on strong. We're into 6 additional minutes. If no one scores in that, we will then enter extra time, 30 minutes or so, and after that, God forbid, penalties too. Earlier today, Mikel Arteta said that his side have just one chance tonight to write a new chapter in his club's history, and his line was well and truly clear. He said one trophy is not enough. Arsenal, the Gunners, they want the second. Well, we could just take a quick listen now to a press conference that took place earlier this weekend with the manager for Arsenal, the Gunners, Mikel Arteta, giving his thoughts, hopes and expectations for this, what could be, historic match tonight.
It will be something new for all of us, and we know how tough it is in a club like Arsenal to write a new history, but that's the aim, and that's why we are all so excited and we have such a desire to make it happen. It's the opportunity to own the moment because, as you said, it's the second time in our history that we are here and we have the opportunity to write a new chapter in the history of this football club, and in order to do that we have to play with such a clarity, a lot of courage and a relentless desire to win. If we have those 3 aspects, I'm sure that we're going to be close to win. They are defending the trophy, so they were the last ones that earned the right to leave that trophy, and they are actually the champions, and we are here to take that away from them.
Well, I've managed to hunt down, it's not been hard, there are hundreds of people to choose from, but father and son, Mark and Jack, all the way from Wales, I think, here tonight outside the Emirates. Let's just get their thoughts on what could be a historic night tonight. Mark, we'll start with you. Yeah. Premier League champions already. What would tonight mean if you win that the Premier League title didn't?
It's going to be it's something that the club have never done before, and it's just going to be another historic thing for this team to win. Just looking forward to it, and hopefully you can bring the trophy back tomorrow.
Jack, if you do win tonight, Arsenal take home this trophy, how will you remember this evening for the years to come?
Well, we weren't really expecting to come like last week, so it'll just be sort of like, I've never really felt it before, but it'll be just something new to experience, and it'll just be, I don't know, I don't think I can ever forget it. So.
Have you got a home time? Have you got a train booked, or are you going to stay through to the early hours?
We're going to stay through. Luckily, we've got family nearby, so we're going to come back for the parade tomorrow.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck to you both. Let's see how it pans out. Well, there you have it. There's the thoughts of just a few people who are gathered here tonight. We'll be speaking to plenty more people later this evening as well. The question is, can Arsenal not just become Premier League champions, as they now already are English champions, but will they be European champions too?
Amazing. Sam, thank you so much. How energising even for us here in the studio. Thank you very much, Sam Francis.
All right, we're going to crack on with tonight's main event. Ding, ding, ding. Get your boxing gloves on, because we're going to debate, well, net zero. That was overwhelmingly the percentage I don't have in front of me, but an overwhelming victory for the debate on net zero. And we're lining up Lizzie and we're lining up Trey. So, who's going first, by the way?
Trey.
I'll go first. I will go first.
Ding, ding, ding. Take it away, Trey.
Do you know, I must admit something. Before the birth of my son, I was kind of a bit like, when it came to the whole thing around climate. I completely understood that there was urgency around global warming, etc. But there was another part of me that was a little bit sceptic, thinking, is this just about raising more money? Is it going to make a difference? Can we really get the energy that we need from things like solar energy and wind energy and all the rest of it? But I remember looking at my son and starting to look at the world differently. I mean, even me sat on this seat here is partly related to that. I really wanted to be a part of the future of this world. Long after I've gone, I wanted to impact that. And I think that's why net zero is actually a positive thing. There are lots of downsides, obviously, to relying on fossil fuels. We all know about them. We've got issues with, obviously, cancers caused by fossil fuels. We've got oil spillages. We've got the global conflict that's happening. We have a lack of security here when we're relying on transportation of fuel all the way through the Straits of Hormuz and the kind of issues that we can have with that. I think there are so many good things about the pursuit of net zero. There are lots of positives, there's lots of benefits. I love the fact that we have a government that is pro net zero and they're looking to do something positive and increase the security for all of us, and at some point actually get our bills down. Because if most of our energy is going to be coming from wind farms and from solar panel, yes, a little bit even from nuclear, and at the same time we're going to have cleaner environments, I would say that's a win-win for us all. Lizzie, what are your thoughts?
Trey, very interesting you saying about bills going down. I remember Ed Miliband saying that we were getting £300 off our bills. Well, that hasn't happened, has it? And all we're seeing is our bills rising higher and higher and higher. All net zero is doing is hurting our economy. I mean, our economy is falling off the edge of a cliff, yet Ed Miliband is still obsessed with net zero, and it is going crazy. Let's just be honest and get some facts here. Our carbon emissions are 1%. Look at China, up in the 30s, America, India. Yet, why doesn't Ed Miliband put his energies into maybe talking with them? Why are they punishing us? Look at the solar panels. Look at the wind turbines. All come from China. It's all so hypocritical, and all it's doing is costing us more and more and more. Frankly, I've had enough of this craziness, and it needs to stop, and stop now.
Hence why you're someone that is clearly supporting this war in Iran, because, you know, the war there is showing you exactly what the ramifications are for us not having the security that we deserve for controlling our own energy production.
Right, I am coming in fast because I've never ever said I supported this war. What I do support is this government doing something to help us, cutting fuel duty, digging, drill baby drill. We've got all our own natural oils and gases, and this government is doing absolutely nothing about it, or helping those that are really struggling with the daily cost of living. Shame on you, Trey, for saying that, and shame on this government for not helping us.
Yeah, drill baby drill and North Sea oil that is fast depleting. I mean, wouldn't you rather have a source of energy that is renewable rather than one that's running out? Look, listen, I know it's not easy, the whole net zero thing, but it's definitely a better plan than doing nothing at all and relying on the volatility of global fossil fuels.
We'll be long dead by the time the net zero in the gas, I should say, oil and gas in the North Sea depletes and runs out. Long dead.
Doesn't matter, but we
years and years to go.
We haven't really dealt with it in the right way with the kind of sovereign wealth fund that Norway has. So clearly we haven't been doing that very well. You know, it's very clear. We're much better off with renewables and a little bit of nuclear as well.
I mean, look at even the electric cars. No one can afford them. We're having to build new bridges, new car parks to support them. I mean, it's a total waste of money, and it's hurting us, Trey. Can't you see? It's hurting the economy. You don't seem to get it.
But let me ask you this thing, honestly, right? Do you generally care about the environmental side of the argument?
Of course I care about the environment.
So what would you propose to do about that?
But I also care about people that are really struggling.
Hang on, because can I address the point that Lizzie made? 1% of CO2 emissions, and you're saying to Lizzie, do you not care about the environment? That's just a puerile argument. We're 1% of CO2 emissions.
Yeah, we're 1% of CO2 emissions, and we're 0.84% of the global population. It's
What's
about
that
on
got to do with the
parity.
environment?
But why not get it less?
What's that got to do
At the
with
end
the
of the day,
environment?
look, listen, you're walking past gas guzzlers out there. There are lots of things that are spewing out lots of chemicals. Would you not rather live in a cleaner environment?
So what happens with the batteries and
a
electric
cleaner
cars?
environment? You've just turned around to Lizzie and said you don't care about the environment. I think that genuinely is such a... I use that word again, pure...
No. I'm asking whether you do. I have to admit, because... Listen, before I had a kid, I probably would have been agreeing with you, I'd be honest with you. But I think with my son being born, I do look at the world slightly different.
Yeah, like, good on you. Like, here's the thing. Number one, this does not impact climate emissions whatsoever. That is the purpose behind net zero. The main purpose behind net zero is climate change or global warming, whatever you want to call it. The UK doesn't impact that. So your argument that it may make for slightly cleaner air, we can discuss that. We can weigh up the pros and cons of whether or not that's worth more expensive energy. But the primary purpose, which is climate change, this is symbolic. Makes no difference. So we need to get that out of the way first. Second, Trey, when it comes to actually energy security, that's fine. I think we all agree with energy security, but that doesn't have anything to do with net zero. That just means you have enough energy so that your country can use it, particularly in times where global macroeconomic factors means that the energy markets are more volatile. You can have energy security through solar, wind. It's definitely harder, but you can also have it through fossil fuels. But then the other thing here is, if you genuinely think that this is a good thing economically, why don't you just say, we're not going to have any government restrictions, we will let the market determine what is the most efficient energy mix?
All right, Trey, before you come back to that, I want to bring Kai in. Kai, I think actually all of the hot air and wind that's emitting from Trey tonight would be enough to power the British economy, do you not?
Well, I think that would be a welcome improvement on the current state of affairs. So Trey needs we need to put him to work, really, don't we? No, there's an interesting middle ground here, and I think this is where we'll end up, right? Is that whether you like it or not, you could open up the North Sea, you could fire up or at least order gas turbines, and yet the fact is, the pipeline for getting gas turbines back online, for getting oil fields explored and new ones explored at least, and existing ones ramping up production, that's not going to happen to solve this current crunch that we have where bills are going up. So to say that opening the North Sea and so on is going to solve all our problems, bring bills down, is nonsense. Moving some of the levies and green levies into general taxation would go some of the way, perhaps. But again, I mean, we're all still paying for it, aren't we? And again, on energy security stuff, well, yes, I think it's sort of a no-brainer that we need to become a clean energy superpower, but not at the expense. They're two different. Not at the expense of oil and gas. I do actually think that we should be reopening the North Sea oil and looking at other opportunities. But to argue that it's going to be an immediate fix to our current problem and that the current problem of high prices is all to do with green energy is a lie.
We need to be really clear with concepts here, because you guys are just conflating different things. Becoming a clean energy superpower is some sort of economic opportunity, and you can have that argument. But energy security is different. That is just having enough energy to ensure that your country is capable of basically keeping the lights on.
Okay, yeah, forgive me, but I think implied in the phrase clean energy superpower is that we would be secure in our energy, that we would be more independent than we are now. Okay. So to make that distinction is sort of just arguing around the edges instead of engaging with the point I was making.
Darren, let me just ask the question that I asked Trey. If that is the case, why not just remove all restrictions? Because let's remember, net zero is effectively a ban on fossil fuels. That's what net zero is. And just say, right, the market can decide how we become an energy superpower, as opposed to the government dictating that we have to be a clean energy superpower.
Well, I think this government needs a bit more, this country rather, could do with some more interventive sort of industry support that means that we get to, so for instance with some energies where we're not at price parity or they're not profitable yet, that they need a bit more support and subsidies to get there.
So this is just an argument.
So I do, and a muscular industrial strategy that has that aim in mind, I think is a positive.
Right. So to be clear, this is just an argument for centrally planned economies.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly not an argument. It's certainly not an argument for complete rampant free marketeerism that has got us into this state in the first place, frankly.
Exactly.
Can I just remind you where they get the solar panels from?
Well,
China.
That's not. Yeah, but that's not the silver bullet argument that you think it is, Lizzie.
Even when you get the electric cars, guess what? You still need to power them. And how do we power them? How do we get that electricity? It's through gas. Gas. That's how we get our electricity.
Baby. Gas, baby.
OK, it's time, my friends, for triggered tantrums. And true to form, Kai, you are up first.
Oh. Well, that's good news. I I definitely know what I'm talking about. Joking. It couldn't be any other than the grifter himself. We've talked a lot about grifters already, right-wing grifters, but there is one lefty grifter who can't be forgotten about. Let's take a look at Zach Polanski this week.
I think I can say very clearly that if you compare the scrutiny that I receive compared to what reforms receive, it's incredibly disproportionate. Now, in the same breath, I should receive scrutiny, as should Nigel Farage, but far too often we see with right-wing politicians, we're talking about £5 million here compared to a council tax bill.
Which journalists are investigating and publishing new stories about. It's not, it was revealed because of journalistic inquiry as well.
Paul, the other one, mate. Like, he's mixing two different things here, right? The journalists are giving him just as much scrutiny to him and to Nigel Farage, I believe, and other politicians. Unfairly or fairly, that's for the public to decide. And, I mean, look at his net approval ratings. They plummeted in that final week of the local elections after his ill-advised comments about Golders Green and some of the revelations coming out about him. So I think he's a bit rattled, don't you think?
It's interesting.
Not good times for Zach Polanski.
The Greens have basically said we need to stop these unfair smear campaigns against Polanski. All of it is true. A smear campaign is when you get misinformation and you just throw this stuff at politicians willy-nilly. Everything that the media has come out with against Polanski, whether it be the hypno stuff, whether it be how he's lied on his CV repeatedly, it's all been true.
And he's done it to himself. He's done it to himself.
When did they go from being a smear to just accountability?
Can I add two things, right? Two interesting trends I'm finding. Number one is he's allergic to scrutiny in the way that some other politicians have, very thin-skinned, almost as if, why are you asking me this? Mate, you asked for the job. And number two, an interesting one here, is the Green Party's obfuscation often. They will give a quote that is partially true, and then later it turns out that they haven't given... It's sort of like you have to push them to give way.
It is interesting to me, though, that the political left in the media, that is, have put this man on a pedestal, championed his name for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then all of a sudden he's nowhere to be seen. It's like the Scarlet Pimpernel.
A magician, he goes a hypnotist.
But you know what's interesting, and he will probably hate me to say this, he probably does need to watch a bit of Nigel Farage and learn how to actually deal with it. It just comes with the territory. If you're going to have this sort of rampant success out of nowhere, of course, you're going to have the scrutiny, isn't it? It's as simple as that. Deal with it.
I'm afraid he's a fake and a phony and he's got to go.
Will? Yeah, a bit of vigilante justice on the farms of England. And this is something which I personally am very happy to see. There is a farmer who had repeated issues with cars that were being parked on his land, and he took matters into his own hands. Let's see how he did it.
It definitely says do not park in the field. And this farmer has had a belly full of these people just parking up, making themselves their own car park. What's your opinion? Was the farmer right?
Well, the bloke on TikTok has teed me up. What's your opinion?
That's such a British thing to do, isn't it? It's so funny. It's almost like Carry On Camping or something. Let's just cover it with manure or something. I'd actually find it quite funny, but I definitely would get the message if that was my car, to be fair.
I'm not sure I'd find it funny getting in the car.
Pat did it, cow Pat.
You're not going to park there again, though, are you?
You wouldn't park there again. But I mean, a quick jet wash and you're good to go.
Yeah, well, it would come off. It would come off. All right, still to come tonight, Lord Heseltine. That's not words I thought I'd be saying in a hurry. But Lord Heseltine says Margaret Thatcher would hate Nigel Farage. We'll be finding out why next.
Bold. They are under no illusion. Ray. Are you a human trafficker? Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines. The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it? From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos. What I'm going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak. Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From court mornings
to warm family brunches,
from football to tennis in the car,
in the kitchen.
GB News Breakfast is there with the stories you need and the conversations that matter.
Anyway, let's talk business.
Well, it has been a historic night in British politics.
It's astonishing, isn't it?
We're here again to start your day just right. GB News Breakfast.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now, my friends, Kai, you've just very kindly sent me one of our comments from Janny, and Janny says, Will is spot on, knows his stuff, looks so cute tonight too. And Alison said earlier she saw a bit of Will's leg. I feel like I've gone back to the 1920s.
God, Will's fan club is ridiculous. He's going to get more flowers.
Yeah. Wow.
More flowers, more dates.
Same where I'm seeing.
Our viewers are Willy mad. They are. What can I say?
I'll take it away from the sexual objectification angle and on to James Cox, who said, Will, I've over... Mine down in the gutter. James Cox has said, Will, I've over 30 years in the oil and gas sector. We don't drill solely for fuel. Petrochemicals are needed for pharmaceuticals, fertilisers, plastics and many more modern essentials. There's over 100 years of recoverable assets in the North Sea using current technology. So I think that's a good angle, James.
All right, I'm not
Thank
sure.
God for Cox.
I'm not sure what our next guest will have thought about that interlude. But anyway, we will move on. Because, my friends, Margaret Thatcher would have hated Nigel Farage. They're not my words. They're the words of the former cabinet member, Lord Heseltine, former Deputy Prime Minister indeed. Heseltine said that the late Prime Minister would see through what he calls the Reform UK leader's opportunism and prejudices. Farage, in contrast, has forcefully argued that there isn't any doubt that Reform would have appealed to the Iron Lady. The MP for Clacton has had a long-standing admiration for Thatcher, dating back to the 1980s when he was a member of the Conservative Party and a commodities trader in London. So would Margaret Thatcher, if she was still here, remain true blue with Lord Heseltine, or would she be tempted to become teal with Nigel Farage? Well, to discuss this, I'm pleased to welcome the former Deputy Prime Minister in the Thatcher government, Michael Heseltine. Lord Heseltine, thank you so much for your company. Can you just set out why it is you believe that Mrs T would have been put off by Nigel Farage?
I think there were two reasons, really. First, she'd have seen him as a phony. You know, wherever you see him, he's trying to parade himself, present himself as something he thinks popular. The first incarnation was the beer mug. Wherever you saw him, he got a beer mug. And then we had the farmers who were in trouble, and so he dressed like a farmer. And then up he pops in America, sort of sitting alongside and gazing adoringly at President Trump. So trying to pretend that he's sort of Trump's vicar in Britain. We certainly don't need that. But that's the sort of presentational phoniness of him. The reason why I think she would have been so disenchanted is the underlying prejudices, and there's nothing new in this. We saw it in the 1930s with Mosley. We saw it with Enoch Powell in the 60s, and now we see it with the extremism. I mean, what was it? Nigel Farage used to go up to his Jewish friends and hiss to pretend a sort of a gas chamber. I mean, what sort of person do you want to have anything to do with who is prepared to do that?
Lord Heseltine, you in your interview this morning, you mentioned that the Reform UK leader was guilty of opportunism and prejudice. I mean, opportunism, did you not pretty much write the book on that?
Did I what?
Write the book on opportunism. It was your opportunism that brought down the Thatcher government ultimately, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't.
Well,
look, I think you should do your history a bit more before asking questions like that. The thing that brought down Margaret Thatcher was the resignation of her Chancellor, Geoffrey, who was then Lord Chancellor, or leader of the House, Geoffrey Howe. And she then had to consult her cabinet, who told her that she had to go. That's why that was the end of Margaret.
Many would argue that your resignation started the ball rolling, that you wanted the top job, that started the ball rolling. Is that not political opportunism?
Well, if it was true, it would be legitimate to use those words. But you see, it doesn't make any sort of sense. I resigned 4 years before she went. I helped the Conservatives in the election after I resigned, and I made it absolutely clear when Anthony Mayer challenged her that I actually voted for Margaret.
Lord Heseltine, could I say to you, look, Nigel Farage is patriotic. He puts Britain first, and I personally think Margaret Thatcher would absolutely love him for that.
Where do you get your sort of naive view he puts Britain first? What do you think he's doing sitting alongside gazing at Trump? What do you think he's doing taking us out of the European Union, which is the biggest disaster economically and politically of any government in modern times? Where do you get this phony idea that...
It's not a phony idea.
It's a totally phony idea.
It is not a phony idea. Nigel Farage loves this country and will do anything for it.
You're not the one being interviewed on this programme. I don't want your views. My views you're asking, and I'm telling you it's a phony idea.
Well, Lord Hazelton, I would be interested in your views on the changing landscape on the right. We've gone from having a very strong Conservative party that owned right-wing politics to now a more fragmented landscape where you still have the Conservatives, but you also have Reform, and you have this emerging force further to the right on Restore. What impact do you think that will have on British politics? And do you think that is a new normal, or there will be some form of consolidation in the future?
Well, I think that the Conservative Party will do what it always does, which is recover. You see, the Conservative Party is the most successful political party in the history of democracy. And it has its bad moments, and it's had one fairly recently, but it always comes back. And it'll come back because it will consolidate the centre-right, and it will tell Britain the truth about its present economic situation. And what it won't do is try to stir up the racial tensions which would cause absolute havoc in our social society, in our health service, and across the country. And it's so precedented, all this stuff. Mosley did it, Enoch Powell did it, and now Farage and his gang are doing it. And it's absolutely sickening.
I mean, Lord Heseltine, you sit there in a very privileged position whilst people around the country notice what is happening to it and see it in the depths of despair. They feel utterly powerless. So for you to sit there and call them all prejudiced, or to argue that they're harking back to Oswald Mosley and his British Union of Thugs, that actually what you are saying is deeply offensive and thoroughly wrong.
Well, I know your programme is deeply concerned to try and promote Mr. Farage. In a free society, you're entitled to do that. But the sort of people that I know and admire and have worked with all my life share the views that I'm expressing.
And in a free society, Nigel Farage is free to do what he's saying, and actually Enoch Powell, going back in the day, you mentioned him a couple of times, he was free to say what he said too.
Yes, but you see, Ted Heath sacked him and went on to win the next election because the Conservatives will have nothing to do with people pandering to racialism.
At the same time, so how do you move forward on the right, though? Because obviously immigration and cultural and social cohesion is the biggest concern of many, if not most, of the British people today. And many, if not most, in fact, no, sorry, certainly most of those people are not racist, but they are concerned about their loss of social cohesion. So how should the right-wing parties, not just the Conservatives, but Reform, Restore, how should they approach this issue in your eyes?
Well, there are, of course, problems with the world economy which are adversely affecting our economy. We've made it worse by Brexit, and we have to rejoin the European Union as soon as is possible. But what you must not do, and this is why I am so hostile to Mr. Farage, is to stir up the racial hatred in what is now a multicultural society. If you look at our health service and our social services and a whole range of commercial activities, we are dependent on people who've come from different parts of the world. And we have to live in a community which respects them and admires them.
Absolutely.
You know, I made a speech to the Conservative Party conference in 1981 after the riots of in Toxteth, Liverpool. And I used these words: they're black, they're British, they were born here, they vote here. And 4,000 members of the Tory Party conference got to their feet and cheered me to the echo. That was one of my proudest moments.
All right. Lord Hester, I just want to commend you for a lot of what you've said, because I think that's the right line that I would take. Whilst I completely disagree that anyone that supports Nigel Farage or even Farage himself is racist, I wouldn't say that was true. I think people are fed up. I absolutely commend your stance. You're right. You know, it is stirring up a lot of racial heritage, and people like myself or people in my family or wife are getting worried about the future of this country. So I really commend you for what you said. But I want to ask you this, because obviously Thatcher did bring in the British Nationality Act, I believe it was 1981. How do you think she would deal with, obviously, what is a contentious issues, for instance, people coming over on, migrants arriving on boats? How do you think is a way that we could deal with it without demonising people?
I think that you've got to secure your frontiers. But our frontier is Europe's frontier. And I have, in my view, two very clear policies. First of all, that we should agree with the best of our European colleagues, who've all got the same problem, to police the frontiers of Europe. But of course, what you'd then be saying to the rest of the world is, we're relatively prosperous, you're not, bad luck. And so I think we should remember the very generous program called Marshall Aid of the Americans to help rebuild Europe after the war. And I think that we should pool the aid programs of Europe and pursue policies which are designed to help create wealth in the countries from which the immigrants are coming. You see, look, it's not rocket science. If you live in the third world, you have got a mobile and you can see every day the living standards that we take for granted in this country. Now, of course, we may be slightly frustrated if they're not increasing, but to the third world, it's a world beyond their wildest dreams. And so the young, and it is the young, say, well, look, I want to share in all that. And I'm going to take a chance and see if I can get into part of it. And so in order to try and be fair about this problem of world disparity, we need to make our aid programs as constructive as we can to help persuade those young people that they can have a future in their own countries.
OK, Lord Heseltine, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Of course, former Deputy Prime Minister Lord Heseltine there. Now, I mean, my God, I've so much I could say to that. Believe me.
I'm sorry. I wonder what Margaret Thatcher would say to the state of the Conservative Party now and their catastrophic results in the
Never mind
local
Thatcher.
elections.
We're going to get to you, Lizzie. What have you got coming up for us next?
Well, I've got coming up for you. It's Move Over Keir Starmer. Hello, Tony Blair.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello, if you're heading away this weekend, there will be some showers here and there across eastern areas of Europe, but mostly plenty of sunny and dry weather. You can see a few showers dotted around Greece and Turkey. Italy seeing the odd shower as well, but mostly it's going to be a predominantly dry and sunny picture if you're heading to parts of Europe. Across Madeira and to the Canary Islands as well, there'll be plenty of warm sunshine. Temperatures generally in the high 20s, if not low 30s. Have a good day.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. The hot spell has finished. We've got rain in the northwest and then it's feeling fresher for all of us as we go through tomorrow with sunshine and showers. Low pressure in charge across the northwest. This cold front will drive outbreaks of rain and fresher air behind it. High pressure holding on in the east. So cloudy as we go through the evening across eastern areas, but to the north and west, that's where we could see some thunderstorms initially across Northern Ireland, pushing their way north and eastward. So a damp picture as we go overnight across Scotland and northern England. But for many, temperatures still holding up around 12 to 14 degrees. Through Sunday morning then, it's a damp picture across much of Scotland. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we see persistent rain. Some heavier bursts coming in to central parts of Scotland. Across Northern Ireland though, hopefully a little bit better. We should see some sunshine instead of the rain and a mixture of some showers. Elsewhere across England and Wales, largely cloudy. Best of the sunshine and dry weather is going to be across eastern parts to start Sunday morning. For most of us though, that cloud will start bubbling up and thickening. We could see a few showers around. Most places largely actually dry. Most focus for some showers is going to be across Scotland, particularly across the northeast of Scotland where they could turn thundery. But for all of us, it's feeling fresher out there. Temperatures now returning closer to average. Still warm in the sunshine though, 24, 25 degrees, and hopefully feeling more pleasant where you catch the sunshine across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Now as we start meteorological summer on Monday, it's a bright start across the east, but it won't last long. We'll see cloud and outbreaks of rain arriving from the west. Some of that could be heavy at times. And then as we go into Tuesday, it's a showery theme again, but temperatures generally around average for this time of the year. Bye-bye.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Welcome back to the Saturday Five. Thank you so much for getting in touch at gbnews.com/your say. I would read some of them out, but I'm not sure I can. I think there's a lot to be said about that interview that we've just heard.
There's a lot to be said.
There is a lot to be said, yeah.
The one thing I would very quickly say on it, I know there are a lot of people in your say who disagree with the stance that Lord Hazeltine took. I think it is very interesting to see where politics has evolved and where the right in this country has evolved over the last 10 years. We are living in a very different world.
I actually think pro-Europeans all do think like that, actually, to be honest, Will. They want the European Union to be able to do these things that Lord Heseltine wants to do to us without democracy. Anyway,
that's now the left, the right.
No, the right also in the Conservative Party. Lizzie, take it away.
Well, it's move over Keir Starmer because there's a new kid on the block. Oh, actually, not so new. It's our former Prime Minister, Tony Blair. Or should I call him Tory Blair? Well, I don't know whether you've read this love letter to the Labour Party because it seems to be more of a Judas scroll, a stab in the back to Keir Starmer. No longer was it about education. It was more like, stop the net zero craziness. Stop the national insurance hikes that are ruining small businesses. It's actually everything that, Keir Starmer believes in, he was against. Let's be honest, the decisions Keir Starmer has made are more akin to spin the bottle and pin the tail on the donkey blindfolded. They're all about chance and no plan. So, maybe Tony Blair is what we've been waiting for. Look, he might not be everyone's cup of tea, but Keir Starmer, he's trying to help you. So why don't you listen? But I forgot, you've got the listening skills of Vincent van Gogh's left ear. So all I'm going to say is it's got to be goodbye to Keir Starmer and hello to Tony.
Wow.
Oh, no, thank you.
Wow. Well, he's got some money, Lizzie, as well, so that helps.
I admire the provocation from Lizzie. Can I offer 2 points in response?
Yes.
Come on.
Number one, a lot of the stuff he said was common sense.
Yeah,
it was common sense, which is more than you can say for the Labor Party, so good on him for saying it. The second thing is that the single biggest issue of our time, which is legal migration, wasn't touched by Blair in that essay. Over 5,000 words, legal migration was not one of the 9 points that he thinks is needed to save the country, which goes to show that he wants to maintain the Blairite consensus which he worked so hard to build up. And that's also what I would add to this is he's identified so many problems this country is facing absolutely correctly, but it was the build-up of the administrative state, it was the rise of the quangos, and it was the empowerment of lawyers, which will make it now so much harder to solve those problems and to actually get politicians to be able to make change happen. So for him to say, well, look, we now need to make change happen, he was the one that actually made reform in this country almost impossible.
Constitutional vandalism.
I agree. He was almost a catalyst for, or was in many ways a catalyst for a lot of the problems that we're dealing with now, including the rise of reform. It probably wouldn't have happened if him lot and the Champagne Socialists started to ignore the sort of white working classes. So I think it'd be a bit rich him being Prime Minister. But you can't deny he's a much more competent PM than Starmer would ever be.
You told me that you were listening to the radio, not expecting Tony Blair, and all of a sudden you stood to attention with
I did, gooning away.
Did you? Oh, God.
So, look, Sir Blair.
Sorry
for that, Phil.
It's Saturday night.
I don't know what that word means. No, you have to listen to a man like Sir Tony Blair when he speaks.
Yes.
And clearly he's caught people's attention. Kemi Bignog has written an essay in response, Wes Streeting, Andy Burnham, all these people who are vying for the top job want a shot at telling them what they think, right? It claims to be radical and bold, but actually lots of the things that he promises as solutions are basically what people agree with anyway. Or he sort of says, oh, we must stop the boats. It's like, oh yeah, thanks, Tone. It's just, if it was that simple, and if he believes the will is there, which he says he does in the Labour Party, then why hasn't it happened already? But also what I don't like, right, is his stance on technology, which essentially deprives us of any agency in the equation. He says, this technology is coming, it's a fact of life, and we need to get on board. Now, you also need to ask why he's saying that. He's being paid very handsomely. He's a very rich man, and lots of it is as a result of his championing of big AI companies and big tech companies. That's fine, by the way, but he hasn't really come clean about it. And the totally enthusiastic, unquestioning embrace of technology is something we should all be worried about. Yes, it's massive. It's going to change our economy, most likely, in ways that we can't expect and don't understand. And we need to be the masters of that destiny and ensure that people don't get left by the wayside entirely.
The way that AI was shoehorned in at points did have the whiff of a PR campaign about it.
Yeah, and just like
he wants to be down with the kids, right? He's trying to make himself young again. And I'm not that cynical. I don't know. Is it all money? Is it all money?
Well, I think there's a part of it where people who are involved in Silicon
has
Valley,
a big tech business.
Which gets 90. Anyway,
Well, no, if you look at Keir Starmer in the polls, he's at the bottom. He's the most unpopular, disliked Prime Minister we've ever had. How about him listen and maybe change and do things?
Well, we'll let the viewers decide. You can all get in touch, gbnews.com/your say. Still to come tonight, my friends, is your lack of sleep causing cancer? We'll be discussing that with an expert, plus some of our high fives throughout the week.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Retracing old steps. Paul Terry fought here in the Netherlands during World War II when he was just a teenager. Now, aged 100, he's returned to pay his respects to those he served alongside and to remember those who didn't make it back home.
I am one of the lucky ones, and it's an honour to come back and to be able to salute these brave men that fought and gave their lives. It gives me great pleasure and honour to be back amongst them, it really does.
There are 1,625 British World War II soldiers buried here. Many of them died while fighting in Operation Market Garden, a crucial fight for the Bridge of Arnhem, just a few miles away from here, seen as a key route into Germany and crucial for defeating the Nazis.
Large parts of Holland greeted the Allied troops as the armies swept on.
The British World War II veterans are brought here by the taxi charity for military veterans. They've driven them here from England in black cabs.
It's important for remembrance and to learn the stories of the people, of the veterans that were there. It's a generation you're never going to see again, the people we owe so much to. So for me, just to bring them here is just a small way of saying thank you.
At the Airborne Division's own cemetery, Holland and Britain joined in a more personal tribute, visiting the resting places so long tended with loving care.
Remembrance events at the Arnhem War Graves have taken place for the last 81 years.
GB News, the People's Channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. Now it's time for triggered tantrums, and no, I don't mean Kai kicking off and screaming, that typical lefty charm. I'm talking...
That's an oxymoron.
Well, yes, quite right. Now, I actually was brought up, my friends, made very popular at Durham Pride today. Have a listen.
As
As unions, we are against division, against those who say our rights are contested causes. Thank you. We know you know who we're talking about, Darren. We are not contested causes. We are people. We are people with human rights. We are people entitled to live our lives free and safely. Reform and other far-right and populist parties are... Yeah, boo, boo! Their authoritarianism, taking away our freedom.
So that's the modern-day trade unions for you, my friends, having a good old tantrum on stage, all because we said, actually, you know, taxpayer cash shouldn't be funding these pride festivals, which do actually push, I would argue, really quite, I'm going to use the word, sinister when it comes to children on gender ideology.
But I wonder as well if she's seen the breakdown of support for all the major parties, and now that the working class overwhelmingly votes for either Reform or Restore or the Conservatives over the left-wing parties. It is extraordinary how the unions are now completely disconnected from their original purpose.
Couldn't agree more. They said, you know, that the miners would be all in favour of all of this, and that a drag queen in the miners' hall would have been absolutely supported. And I'm just like, honestly, you're living on a different planet now. You're orbiting somewhere else. But Trey, even you wouldn't go as far as saying that Reform is far-right or authoritarian, would you?
No, I'm kind of getting a bit sick of people calling Reform far-right or even calling them racist. I know people from all walks of life, all different colours, who absolutely love Reform, love what they stand for. I just think they're just pretty much standing for what a lot of people want. I wouldn't necessarily support them, I wouldn't vote for them, but I think it's unfair, even when Lord Heseltine said it, calling everyone that votes Reform racist. It's not true. People need to stop that, and it's definitely not authoritarian, well, at least I hope they won't be anyway.
Trey, what have you got?
So what I've got is a little bit of a policeman being a little bit overzealous. It's funny, when I look back at my history and getting stopped in my car by police, which is frequent, they're actually really lovely to me, which is weird, because a lot of my friends didn't get that same treatment. But in this case, the policeman saw something that wasn't quite there. Let's take a look.
Why you're being pulled over. The city of Lake Worth today, we're doing an operation for distracted driver, and you drove past me holding the phone with your right hand, manipulating that phone. I mean, I saw you with your phone in your hand.
Not. So you want to just call this a day?
I don't want to call it a day. You had a hand up manipulating the phone.
You just said my right hand.
Well, I thought I saw you with your right hand. You had a hand up. The right hand. I saw you manipulate.
So you didn't.
With the right hand, perhaps not, right? But
you didn't see me with my right hand.
Okay, so are you
saying that you saw me with my right hand?
I know what I just said. I know what I just said. I'm asking you now. Did you or not have your phone on your hand?
I did not.
Do you know what's stupid about that as a policeman? Just say sorry, ma'am. I got it completely wrong. But he's still insisting he saw a phantom mobile phone in the right hand of the right hand amputee. I mean, come on, you couldn't make it up. You're so stupid.
Our radio listeners, the woman quite clearly did not have a right hand. Oh, bless her.
Oh, no,
bless her. I mean, I think you're right. To be honest with you, I'm going to break the habit of the century and say I agree with Trey.
Yes. I know, I was going to say I do as well.
I'm going to buy a lottery ticket every time you guys do.
Yeah.
I shouldn't find that as funny as I do, but that's very
Are you laughing at the cop, or are you laughing at the lack of right hand?
The stupidity.
I always worry that these things are total setups, by the way, and I don't believe anything that I see online these days. Anyway, my friends, don't go anywhere, because coming up, it's the Saturday 5 Extra. We're going to let our hair down. Anything could happen. Woo. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you just in a jiffy.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. The hot spell has finished. We've got rain in the northwest, and then it's feeling fresher for all of us as we go through tomorrow with sunshine and showers. Low pressure in charge across the northwest. This cold front will drive outbreaks of rain and fresher air behind it. High pressure holding on in the east. So cloudy as we go through the evening across eastern areas, but to the north and west, that's where we could see some thunderstorms initially across Northern Ireland, pushing their way north and eastward. So a damp picture as we go overnight across Scotland and northern England. But for many, temperatures still holding up around 12 to 14 degrees. Through Sunday morning then, it's a damp picture across much of Scotland. Across Orkney and Shetland, that's where we see persistent rain. Some heavier bursts coming in to central parts of Scotland. Across Northern Ireland though, hopefully a little bit better. We should see some sunshine instead of the rain and a mixture of some showers. Elsewhere across England and Wales, largely cloudy. Best of the sunshine and dry weather is going to be across eastern parts to start Sunday morning. For most of us though, that cloud will start bubbling up and thickening. We could see a few showers around. Most places largely actually dry. Most focus for some showers is going to be across Scotland, particularly across the northeast of Scotland where they could turn thundery. But for all of us, it's feeling fresher out there. Temperatures now returning closer to average. Still warm in the sunshine though, 24, 25 degrees, and hopefully feeling more pleasant where you catch the sunshine across Northern Ireland and Scotland. Now as we start meteorological summer on Monday, it's a bright start across the east, but it won't last long. We'll see cloud and outbreaks of rain arriving from the west. Some of that could be heavy at times. And then as we go into Tuesday, it's a showery theme again, but temperatures generally around average for this time of the year. Bye-bye.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen within. Box Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
There's a totally tax-free £76,543.21 in cash to be won. Cash to spend on anything you like. That's like having over £6,000 extra to spend each month for a whole year. You could spend it on a bucket list holiday, treats for all of the family, or just save it for a rainy day. For a chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB21 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 26th of June. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time, but I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
It's Saturday night, and this is the Saturday 5 Extra, the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show. I'm Darren Grimes, along with Will Kingston, Lizzie Cundy, Trey Lowe, and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show...
Who would have thought cheese rolling down a hill could bring the country together?
And have our Arsenal pulled it off and won the Champions League.
Come on. Can a lack of sleep cause cancer?
And keep getting your views and comments in for Ask the Five.
And I've said it once, I'll say it again. Trust and transparency in our politics is dead.
Wow. It's 8 p.m. and this is the Saturday Five.
Well, I and many of you, I'm sure, are none the wiser as to whether Arsenal have won their big match. I know that our producers and many of our team outside, just outside, are watching some of the penalties. So you know who we have on site to tell us what's going on, what the latest is of course the wonderful Sam Francis.
Evening to you all again from the Emirates Stadium. I am about as wise with the scores as you are. I'm trying to keep track of things simply by judging whether people here are cheering or not. It's very difficult to tell. I think the latest is that it's 4-3 to PSG, and we're waiting to see if Arsenal can hold their own and score the next penalty too. If they can, then the game is still on. If not, then commiserations to Arsenal. We have to wait and see. But the crowds here have been cheering. Just take a look behind me at the scenes as people begin to flood the area outside the Emirates Stadium. Some 60,000 people inside, but it appears that just in the last few minutes we've had confirmation that PSG have again maintained their trophy, their title, their crown of the Champions League. Commiserations to Arsenal fans. Their dream is over. The final played in Budapest tonight, but the disappointment is being felt here as fans start to make their way home after this devastating defeat. Not, though, against a backdrop of Premier League loss. They are still the UK English champions with that Premier League victory just a few moments to go. Thousands of supporters had gathered here tonight in hopes of the win of this trophy, the one trophy they have never been able to touch. And again, it was not to be. Paris Saint-Germain came in as defending champions, and tonight they have showed just why that is. For Arsenal, this is going to hurt, and hurt big. The opportunity was so big tonight. Only a few weeks ago, as I say, they became Premier League champions for the first time in 22 years. Tonight, the chance for a historic win. It would have been the first in 140 years of Gunners' history, and turning what is already a historic season into an immortal one. But instead, the wait for the first Champions League title goes on and on. The standards around the club have been changed. Arsenal are not nearly men anymore. They are champions of England, and that means that nights like this are not just about learning. They are about planning for what comes next. There is still pride in what they have built, but tonight there is certainly pain to people that leaving the stadium now, heads hanging low, as this defeat, a painful defeat during penalties, ended in a win for PSG. It's a way that European finals seem to only ever end in a penalty shootout. This was not a collapse, though. It was not humiliation. Some were saying that Arsenal were lucky to have even stayed in the game, but others defending the way that Arsenal played tonight, saying that they played their game well, that they held their own. It was a thin, brutal margin of elite European football this evening, and Arsenal have just sadly ended up on the wrong side of it. And there is no crueler way for Champions League finals like this to end tonight, in penalties, after all the work, all the belief of a 90-minute game, then into extra time for 6 minutes and a further 30 minutes in addition to that. Penalties pushing it ever closer to the edge. All the noise inside this stadium, full of dreams and hopes, has been decided from just 12 yards and ended by slipping away. This is a reminder again, Arsenal did not want that they may be champions of England, but Europe's summit still demands yet another level, and the future is yet to see the Gunners lifting this Champions League trophy. Finals are often remembered, it's worth noting, through single moments, but Arsenal did not get there because of just one player, and they have not fallen short just because of one player either tonight. Arsenal Arsenal season remains historic, but it just sadly falls short of being legendary. I am sure people will continue to gather here this evening, though, and share their hopes and dreams for the future for the Gunners. But as I say, tonight goes only in one direction, and that direction is PSG, and they have secured a second Champions League title. Having knocked out Arsenal last year in the semi-finals, they've gone on to defeat them yet again in the top tier, the final of the Champions League in Budapest. That trophy sadly not coming back here to the Emirates Stadium. It will remain with PSG.
Wow, amazing. Thank you very much, Sam, for that. That's what an extraordinary moment. I mean, it's not lost on me that this is a pretty emotional time for lots of fans. I know that, I mean, I'm not a follower of football, but I'm a follower of the F1, and even I can get a bit emotional about all of that, and that's not even as high stakes and as massive in certain communities as football is. Lizzie, what do you make of all this? You're happy about this?
Well, I am happy because I'm a Chelsea fan, and I know that if it was on the other side, if we were in this final,